Okay, guys. Hi, guys. My name is Jolt, and I like to present you a method how you can model information systems. So I did some research, and I couldn't really find any information about how others really do information system modeling. There is many information about how to model generic systems, and also there is also lots of information about how to model embedded systems, but about information systems, I couldn't really find much. So I would like to show you the approach that we took in the past at my previous company, and yeah, we can start discussing and iterating on that. So yeah, obviously there is this big part of the problem space thing. So like, what is the problem? What is the real need? The requirements, and so on and so forth, and operating concepts or concept of operations. And yeah, this is also super interesting. I really love that topic. But right now, I would like to focus on really the modeling part of the systems and such. So let's just create a package and call it like my system, for example. And let's start with the block definition diagram. So like, what we want to describe is that we have a client and a server, and we are interested in like in certain things that is happening in between the client and the server. So obviously we have to create a context. We are working with SysML, and then we create something like a client, and then we can create something like a server. And obviously part of the context is the client and is a server, and whether it's like a shared or not shared association. I mean, yeah, this is something that we can discuss. Nevertheless, we want to move forward, so we'll create an internal block diagram, and using internal block diagram, we'll actually describe that the client and the server is connected. So yeah, obviously here we have the client, here we have the server, and then somehow we want to describe that they are connected. So one way to do that is to define ports, and yeah, you can choose well, either proxy port or just a single port. It's like, again, do we really want to use like proxy ports, or like, this is debatable. I mean, I will just go with a single port. And I already know that many people will complain about this, uh, and that's okay. So uh, here, this way, we describe that in this context, client and server are connected to each other. And that's okay. And they have these two ports. So like, let's discuss about those things. So I can create diagram for the server, and I will call the first diagram as my context. And then I can call it like either my server, or maybe we'll rename it later. So very fast, I can drag and drop the server here, and I can show the port. Okay, so we have this port, and obviously we want to have some type of interface definition. And it's interface as something that is describing the interface, and not interface as a connection. So it is actually describing an interface, so I can call it like a server interface as a kind of specification of that thing. And then I can create an operation, and let's just call it like, I don't know, upload image, for example. And obviously I can grab this and drop here, and then call it like server interface, whatever. And then what I described here, that this server has a port, is like a connection point on its boundary, and the type of that connection point is server interface. Okay, and so I have this operation, upload image. Well, is it useful? Maybe. So I can create, for example, a use case, uh, and I can call it like upload image, could be a use case. And then I can create a diagram, like a sequence diagram. And here I can actually describe the situation. So in case of when a user wants to upload an image, I mean, it will be obviously super simple. So I just create here a message, and then there is some reply, and okay, and this is upload image, and that's it. I mean, obviously in reality, it might be way more complex, but I mean, that's just a very simple exercise. So, okay, does it provide value? Yeah, because now as I take a look, if I take a look on that image, I know that, okay, there is some use case called upload image, and what happens? Yeah, the client calls the server's interface somehow in that sense, and it uploads an image somehow with some data. Okay, so let's try to talk about this data that is being passed. Uh, so in order to model that, obviously I need to have, I need to decide maybe whether it's like a synchronous or an asynchronous call. So like, okay, let's just go with a synchronous call right now. So I will create two blocks. One will be for the request, like upload image request, and then I can create something like an upload image response. And request could have some data, and like how we name it, I mean, that is again like could be like a big discussion. So I can call it like image upload image request DTO, like data transfer object, uh, or like whatever the way I want. And then I can add some fields. So like maybe I have something like a file name, which is of a string. I can have maybe something like the content, which is a byte array and with a value type. And then I can have something like a MIME type. So whether it's like a JPG or a PNG file or a vector graphical file, whatever it is. So like it could be like a string. And the response, I can name it also like upload image response detail, or maybe some other way. Again, it's like how you name things. That will be a huge discussion. And it is returning an ID, which could be like an integer. So let's just go with an integer. And I can just hide those names. I mean, it's just additional noise. And like, does it provide value itself? Yeah, I think so, because we can already talk about like, okay, guys, let's have this use case. Somehow there is like an operation that the client will call, and this is the data that they want to send, and this is the data that you will return. And like, what do you think about this? And then, you can start discussing. And probably the first question that will arise, like, okay, but which one is mandatory and which one is optional? So like, okay, let's just add this information. So like, file name might be mandatory. Content, I mean, definitely mandatory. MIME type, okay, it's maybe optional. And the ID is maybe mandatory. So maybe we say, okay, maybe let's just start with this. Maybe that this is good enough for us. So right now, this upload image operation, it didn't took account the request and the response. So let's try to do that. So like you have two ways to do that. You can either add the properties by hand, or you can just create an activity. So I create an activity diagram. I can call it like upload image, and I can add parameter nodes, a request and a response. So I can call it request, and I can call this one response. Yeah, I cannot type in the morning. And then the direction is return, and then I will just drag and drop the request and the response. And if I want to be like super nice, then I can even set the multiplicity to mandatory. I mean, that's again a decision. And then I can go back here and maybe just rename this my server upload image. And then I can add this activity here. And then we are describing that, okay, in the server, I have an operation, it is a request and returns a response, and this is the data from the request, and this is the data in the request, and this is the data in the response. And then I have something that I called clickability or navigability. So like you can double click here and you are here. And if I just drag this here, I can just very simply jump back here. So this is I think already pretty cool. And so the next step is, I mean, in general, this we can already use for some discussions. But what if I want to talk a little bit about the internals of like what is happening here? So like what should happen when we execute this use case, upload image? What should we do? And well, you might just let the developers figure it out, or you might provide them some type of design, or you could like create together as a team a design and make some discussions here. So very simple. So let's just start with some very simple stuff. So the problem in general is that you can provide a textual description, a ticket or whatever, but like what if it is missing many information? And the problem will be that the developers will provide you an estimation, uh, and because of the lack of information and the lack of discussions and refinements, which always happen, many questions will not be even asked. And obviously the estimations will be wrong. Okay, every estimation is wrong, but still, actually you can make like better estimations because the more you know upfront, the better your estimations will be. I mean, let's be honest, we are not developing in many cases like super complex algorithms or anything like that. This is just not the reality. In I would say 95% of the cases, it's just like simple. I wouldn't say like necessarily simple, but like you don't invent algorithms or anything like that. So like this kind of I don't know what should I do thing is questionable. I think you kind of should know what you want to do. How you can do that, that's different question. How you implement that, what you need to do or what you should do, that's a different thing. But like from like what steps I want to do, I think this is something that you should know upfront and base your estimations on that. So let's start with this swim lanes allocated to the server. Now we did a functional allocation of this functionality to this server because of yeah, we are very clever. We know that it will be implemented there. So okay, so let's start with some steps. So probably we have something like receive request, and maybe we have something like assemble response. And here, this goes this way, this goes this way. I can here show the type, hide the name, show the type, hide the name and show the type. It's fine. We know that this is mandatory. And okay, so let's start designing. So like, what should I do? So I definitely at some point have to maybe generate a UID. I mean, this is also debatable. Should I generate here the UID or maybe the database will create it? But okay, let's just maybe create the UID here. And for example, we decide to run filter on the image. Okay, so I receive the request, I run some filter on the image data, and then I create a UID, and then I store the filtered image in database, and then I will assemble the response, and that's it. So what do I need here? So like two things, inputs and outputs. So obviously I need to somehow extract the information from the request. So I might just rename it to extract extract information and from request. And yeah, obviously I can a little bit help myself to show that, okay, this is where actually this activity starts. So, okay, let's talk about the inputs and outputs. Filter image, it obviously has some type of input, which is some image, which is a byte array. And yeah, it obviously has some output, which is a filtered image, which is also like a byte array. I mean, this we can model this like this way. And yeah, what's the multiplicity? So like each of them are mandatory. And if you think about this, it's like, do I want to model how to run this filter, which is like doing like black and white or whatever on this image? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe I don't care about this. Maybe this is a library. Maybe this is a service. Maybe this is, something. At that point, right now, I don't care about this. I care about the inputs. So I need to have some byte array. I care about the output, which could be a byte array, or even for a byte array, we can just call it like image and like type it. So like this is again a discussion. But like how they develop this, how it is implemented, at that point, I don't care. That's an implementation detail for me. Maybe like I should provide also like a filter type or something. And this is something that we will discuss later with the development team. For the UID or the ID, create ID. Yeah, I can have this step, maybe, or maybe not. I mean, this is again debatable. Will the database do that? Should the database do that? To whom should we allocate this function? This is something we can discuss. Maybe we decide that no, you don't have to create an ID here, even if it's like a U type of UID. Maybe just let's rely on the database, and we can say, okay, let's just rely on the database. This is something that we can do as well. So in order to talk about the store the filtered image in the database, if we say that, okay, then this ID will be generated by the database, then obviously it is coming out from this step. So then we will have an ID, which is an integer in this case. Integer. Okay. And this is also an ID, which is an integer. Yeah, okay. And then I can just set the multiplicity to 1 here. And then, yeah, and I also want to show the type because it's always helping. Yeah, we had some discussions with my friend whether you should just use first the names and then other types, or just first use the types and then other names. And like, yes, you can do it, I think, either this way or that way. Okay, so the next step is to store this image. So like, obviously, we can use this here. And this is, again, filtered. This could be like just image. And again, show the type. I think somewhere I can configure that always show the type. But yeah, something we have to check. And obviously, we want to have as an input the file name as a string. And we can have the MIME type, which could be also like a string. And we can set the multiplicity to 1. And obviously, this one was optional. And then we can say that please show the types, okay? And then we can say that, okay, maybe we can go like this way, and then we can extract the information from here. So for that, I actually wrote some plugins in the past at my previous company. So it was like a one click. Now it's like you have to do the handiwork. And it's like having a modeling tool that actually supports plugins is super great, because then you can spare so much time in kind of implementing this functionalities that can make your life so much more easier. And actually, this is the reason why I have a whole plugin development series for Magic Draw. So yeah, and my type I have to set to this way, and then I can show the type. Okay, and so like file name, as you can see, so like we want to ensure that the data is really can flow. So like here I miss a file name. Do I need it somewhere else? No, not really. So like I can add it like here, and then I can split this so I don't see like these crossing lines. And then the next step is about the content, which is a byte array, which we need here. So like I can either do it like this way and split it, or I can remove that that control flow. Well, this is again um, debatable how you want to do that. And for the MIME type, I can make that connection as well. So I can split it, and then I can just set those lines a little bit. Okay, and then I think I can kind of make all of them centered. Why it is not? Okay, nevertheless. So, I mean, I think it worked in the past. Nevertheless, we can design it like this way. It's like obviously I was talking a lot. Like normally this is something that you do in like 5 to 10 minutes, worst case. And then if you take a look on that, this is something that we can already discuss. So like, okay, you extract the information, you run the filter, and then you store the data in the database, and then you assemble the response. And imagine if you get a description like this instead of like some textual bullshit. I think it's just so much more useful. And this is something that you can already discuss, like, okay, should this MIME type really like a string? Or like, should we work like really with byte arrays? Or like when I run a filter, should I have like some type of, I don't know, enumeration here? So like, so that I can select the filter. And like, what if there is a problem? Could there be a problem? Could it fail? Could this call fail? So like, maybe it could. And then maybe you want to design uh, an error case. So for example, you might want to handle errors. And like the way you could model an error handling is that you could return some type of error. So like here's an error, and then I can make a decision. And based on that error, I mean, sorry, I have to kind of clean this up. Okay. And how was it? Okay, so nevertheless, so here is an error. There was a way to make it like okay, nevertheless. I can ask error. Do I have an error? And if I have an error, then I can create error message. And then I can go like this way, or I can just join this and go like this way. And then this way and this way. And make it like smaller, but not that smaller. A little bit like this way. And then I can add a guard condition, so like yes. And then I can add here like a no or an else, whatever you wish. And then, okay, and then there is an error. Okay, error, and then I can create an error message and I can merge this. here somehow. So now, as you can see, there is actually now error handling as well. So now we start to think about like, what if this fails? If there is an error, then what should I return? And then is this ID even correct? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. So like, but all those things has to be discussed. And then, okay, we run into the problem that, okay, we need to store something. So how to model that? And the way you can model that is you can create also diagram, also block definition diagram, which is really great. Then you can create something like an image entity, for example. And an image entity can have then obviously an ID, which is an integer. It can have a file name, which is a string. It can have a content, which is a, I don't know, byte array. And then you can have something like main type, which is also a string. And like again, like should we use here like the SysML strings or something else? Again, debatable. But still, at the end of the day, you can actually model stuff, and that's the important thing. So like I have this image entity, and then I can say that, okay, here we are writing this image entity, and yeah, the name is not important. The multiplicity is maybe mandatory. And then I can do here at least things like how can I do that? Display. No, I can make a okay, nevertheless, I can show here even in a sub diagram the fields of the image so that you can check that we filled everything. And so this is how you could use UML or SysML to model even details. And as you can see, you can really reason about types and data flows and control flows. So like if I have an additional step here, I can add this additional step here, and then like I can discuss, should I do this step first and that step second? Or maybe should I switch them up? Because I could, if they don't depend on uh, on each other. So if it has obviously an output, then this depends on this one. So it is creating some output, and this is kind of consuming that output that is created by this step. So in this case, there is obviously an order. But if I just remove that, if this step doesn't need this, then maybe we can exchange this step after this step. So we can have actually those discussions, and I think that's the whole point. Now, how it is implemented? Is it implemented procedural way, an object-oriented way, a functional way? To be honest, does it matter? I think not. I think it's it just doesn't matter at all. That's an implementation detail. Obviously, there is some data flow, and it is there always, whether it's like functional or not, or object-oriented. Therefore you have some dependencies in between the steps. But yeah, this is something that you can use to reason about solutions. And then when a developer gets something like that, implementing this is like super easy. It's like really super easy because like every data is taken care of, every inputs and outputs is taken care of, the error handling is taken care of. Yeah, we can see like okay, but then maybe we should also extend somehow this response thing with the error. So like how should we model this? But yeah, this is how you improve your modeling process, the way you model is part of the story. So this would be our approach of modeling information systems. Maybe one more thing that I like to show you is how we modeled uh, when uh, when a system is calling another one. So like if I have this server and I have also this whatever a server 2 or something like this. So like how to model that. So like I can have like a server 2 and it was kind of easy. So let me just create a new diagram simply and add this server 2 and then an interface box, so server 2 interface, and then I can run an operation like, I don't know, say hello. I mean, that's like very stupid, but for this purpose, I think that's fine. So then I can add a port here, and then I can add this here. Okay, and then I can create like a say hello request and say hello response here, and then I can create like uh, an activity called say hello, and then I can add the request and the response. And obviously we should create like packages because right now we are putting everything into a single package, which is something that you definitely shouldn't do. But nevertheless, it's really for like demonstrational purposes. So, okay, so we have this, we have the context, that's so far so good. And then we can also use server 2 here. And then we can describe that in this particular context, server and server 2. Sorry, that was my mistake. So I should draw it like here. So server 1 and server 2 are actually communicating to each other. So, okay. And now, how do they do that? I mean, okay, this one and this one. In this case, in this upload image, sorry, upload, where it is. Yeah, here. So maybe it is calling this server to say hello method endpoint, whatever way it is implemented. So you can insert a new swim lane, just not here, but to the right. Okay, and then you can add server 2, and then you can just simply create a call behavior action. So I can drag and drop this here. And as you can see, I can move this whole thing a little bit like down this way. And then I can create a step like call say hello, something like this. I mean, you can prepare the data that it needs first in a step and then make this call here. And then you can show the type that is a request. Then we can like receive the response here and make some decisions. So if there is like, if it's okay, then we can go there. If there is some error, then we can also create an error message, something like this. And okay, and then we can connect this to this one and then move everything to the right and like this way. And then it's obviously complaining because those elements are not part of the partition. So I can maybe one by no, there is the error view, and then I can add elements to the partition. So it's kind of helping me on some level. But yeah, I can select error, and I can select no, and I can select yes, and, or else, or you can use the else or whatever. So like, and there it could be like else an error. Maybe it's important, maybe it's not. I don't know. And then you can merge things together this way, or even like this way, if you want to do it like this way. So, and the thing is that here, as you can see, I can jump into this. So like, I can actually jump back and forth uh, here to here and back. So I think that's great. And now we already modeled a remote call basically. So like this is something that you can also do. So in short, this was our approach. Obviously, it has limitations, but we found that it also creates lots of added values. So thank you for your attention, and then let's discuss. Goodbye.